Okay, we're working on my 97 E39 540i 6-speed. This year, the auxiliary fan for this year comes with resistors to control the high and low speed. As you can see, I've removed the grill. You got your 4 screws, and basically just bend it a little to slide it out through the front. I've disconnected the connector, which is just right behind here. This end goes to the fan, and this part of the connector goes to the control. You got your power coming out through here, and you got your controlled speed through the different pins here, depending on the sensor there, the temperature. Now, the resistors have gone bad, so I don't have any low speed, so I am not getting any cooling at all at idle, and the compressor disengages because of the high heat, because the fan obviously isn't cooling down the condenser. So anyway, we're gonna replace the resistors, but I haven't purchased the new resistors yet. So all I did was I removed the brackets, and in order to pull it out, you just basically slip it in through the fins while turning the fan a little back. And there you have access. First you got to pull the wires all out. Okay, now you have access to the resistors here. As you can see, it's only 2 wires going directly into the fan, and the lower speeds are controlled by these 2 resistors here, which have gone bad. So the resistors are open. You can test it with a multimeter, which I'll show you. Through the connectors, you got your ground, which is this one here. And you got your low speed input. Okay, set it to ohms. And I'm not a lefty, so I'm having trouble here. Okay, nothing. It's an open circuit. Now if you connect direct, high speed, the fluke meter, when I have it set to ohm and it's a short, then it actually beeps. The battery's weak on my fluke, that's why it shuts off, but it'll eventually. There we go. So the motor's good, and it works when you apply direct power to it for the high speed. So let me put these resistors back in, and then I'll apply some direct power to it. Make sure that these are secure by pushing the wires in, and on this side too. Okay, that's not going to work. There you go. I'm going to apply some direct power here. I'm actually using copper speaker wire, which isn't the correct gauge, so it'll kind of heat up a little bit. But just to show you that the fan does work, wires get hot pretty quickly. It's actually hot to the touch. So anyway, the fan does come on at extreme temperatures, so I do know that the circuit does work. Fuses aren't blown, so when I turn on the air conditioner, There's your ground here, and this pin here. Power is applied only when the compressor is engaged. Right now it's at 0. So I'm going to start the car. Turn on the compressor, and it'll show 12 volts. Well, 13 volts in this case. Got your air conditioner. Power will not be applied unless the engine is running. See, I'm getting cool air, but once the temperature rises, the temperature in the system also rises. And because of the extreme temperatures, the sensor will shut off the compressor, because the auxiliary fan is not cooling down the system properly. So I'm going to get some new resistors. I'm going to look at the values on the resistors when I pull them out, and replace them, and I should get my low speed air back. Okay, so what I've done so far is I transfer the brackets to the new resistors, and just to confirm, these are the 85 and the 80 watt. One side is 0.2 ohms, 80 watts, and the other side is 0.5 ohms, 85 watts. These are the Dale power resistors. So here are the old ones, and I just cut them off. Now this one was still good, but since we're replacing one, you might as well just replace both. And the way it comes from the dealer, it's pretty much almost plug and play. You already have the pins. Typically on this repair kit, you just have to remove the pins, feed them through, and just splice one wire. But in my case, I did not remove the bumper and the fan, so what I did was I cut the wires at 3 points where I'm going to connect them. So basically, the 2 pins, cut them right here, and the end here. That's where I'm going to splice it, and then we're going to splice this third portion here. So basically, I'm just not going to be feeding this in, but this is actually preferred over splicing. So the amount right in there, I'm going to go ahead and feed it through, so I'm going to pause it for a second, and I'll come back once the resistors are in place. And you don't want to cut just yet, because you don't know exactly the positions of the wires we're going to splice them. So you want to position them first, and then measure, and then splice them. You know, some people use soldering, and butt connectors are fine. Okay, so I have the resistors in there. You want to start on the right side, because this is where it loops back, and it's easier to work with and to position the wires in the grooves. Right here. Just slip them in the groove, which basically holds the wire in place, and then just go ahead and screw in your mount. And then from there you work your way to the left to where you're going to be splicing the 3 wires. So right now just leave them there loosely, and once you position the resistors, and that's when you can measure where you're supposed to cut the wires and splice them, so it'll be neater. Okay, so I've spliced 2 of the 3 wires so far. I'm trying to make this a little neat and kind of hide the butt connectors behind the bracket here. So I'm going to cut the wire just right here so there's not too much slack, so the wires will be sloppy. So just right. And then we have one more wire on top on the other end of the first resistor on the left. Okay, so I have the resistors and brackets screwed into place. There's where I spliced the blue and black wire, and this one is the black and red, and this one just the black wire. So that's the last one I have to splice, but as you can see, it spins nice and freely. You can actually use the blue butt connectors, which is the thinner gauge wire connectors, but the yellow ones will work fine too. So I just have to splice one more and we should be all done, and we'll test it out. Okay, so we have the 3 wires spliced to both resistors. Checking the fan does spin freely, and so we'll go ahead and test it out now. Okay, so now we've got low speed fan working. Let's go check the AC. That's the first time I've seen this auxiliary fan run on low mode since I bought it September of 2007. Nice. And we'll go ahead and put it to the test in extreme temperatures. Leave the car parked out in the sun and then turn on the AC, and we'll see if it'll remain cold. But other than that, the AC should be now working flawlessly. I'm going to shut it off, and we'll see that the fan will turn off. Turn the AC back on. There we go. The fan runs. Sweetness. Now I get to fully enjoy my E39. So the only last step is to replace the front grille, and we're all done.